In this sequence, I will demonstrate how to use cold mounting for your samples. On this paper, you can find brief instructions, so you can mount your samples later on. But some basic facts. You place the specimen in a mounting cup. I will show it to you later. You measure the correct amounts of 2 or sometimes 3 components, and you measure it carefully by weight. In the descriptions you can sometimes find that you can measure it by volume. I recommend by weight if you know that ratio. It's much more precise. You mix them thoroughly and then you pour them over the specimen, and you leave them inside this fume hood to cure, and you remove them after curing. Any residuals in the cup from the mixture you have made, you also leave to cure in the fume hood. You must never put it into the dustbin before it has cured. The reason for that is that, well, it's very sticky, of course, but also that some of these, even though it's called cold mounting, develops quite high temperatures during curing. The materials we use normally is 2. It's Epofix, epoxy-based one. It has the lowest shrinkage of all cold mounting resins. The curing time of the type we have is relatively long. It's 12 hours. But the adhesion is very, very good, and it's also good for vacuum impregnations. The viscosity is low. The other one we use is called Durosit. It's an acrylic compound. It is a mineral filler in it, so it has quite small shrinkage. It heats up to, I think, 130 degrees during curing, so it's not cold. And hardened acrylic is also thermoplastic, and it's chemically resistant. I think I said it, but Durosit contains a mineral filler and also give very good edge retention. Up here you can find instructions, more exact instructions about how to use this cold mounting. They should be stored up here. I will take them down now just to show you. This first one is for Clarosit. It's a, I would call it guest appearance when it comes to our mounting materials. We will probably not keep it for permanent use, but we have it now. You can use it if you like. You read about it in here. Instructions for Durosit is here. And here you can find data about how to mix and prepare Epofix. One instruction that is quite important to read and to study before is how to use these forms we have, these mounts that we, molding forms that we have for making our samples. It's called fixiform. It's very difficult to take the samples out if you don't do as they suggest in this manual. If you do as they suggest, it's very easy. So read this one. But keep all these manuals in this pocket up here. So I would like to demonstrate how to mount in one of the cold mounting materials that we have, the epoxy-based one that is called Epofix. You can find it back here in the fume hood. And I would recommend that you use gloves when you use this material. The reason why I recommend to use gloves is that epoxy can, if you use it often and get this material on your fingers or in your eyes or breathe it in, give you allergy or other things. But allergy is quite common with daily use of epoxy. It's a big risk for it anyway, so use gloves. But when you use gloves, remember that you should try to keep things clean anyway. Not to let it be very, very messy just because you have gloves. Keep it clean anyway. So we have epoxy resin there, and we also have epoxy hardener there. 2 components. We have a mold that looks like this. And you put it together like this. The reason for that is that later on, when we want to take our sample out, we need to take the bottom of the mold out. So we have the mold, we take the sample, put it down into the mold, as I would like to have it, with the surface that I would like to study facing downwards. I try to hold it now so you can see. Then I put it down into the fume hood. We will need these 2. We will also need a cup to make our mixture. And we will also need one of these rods to stir it, to mix it properly. I will now take these 2 out from the fume hood and go to a balance so we can weigh up the correct amounts of this resin in the cup. So I usually use a balance to be able to measure these components by weight. It gets much more exact if I do it by weight, so I recommend that strongly. I also recommend that you put a piece of paper on top of the balance, because even if you try to do this carefully, it's easy that you spill a little bit here. Tear. The mixing ratio, I remember for this one, is 25 parts of that resin and 3 parts of the hardener. If you don't remember it, you read the manual, as you learned about earlier in this film sequence. So I will take 25 grams. I think that's a good amount also. Was a little bit more, 25.4. If a drop or 2 comes on the neck here, wipe it off with a piece of paper so the bottle doesn't get very sticky for the next user. Hardener. So if I have 25 grams of hardener, I should have 25 grams of resin, I should have 3 grams of hardener. So I tear again. .2. That will do. And as I said before, epoxy can give you allergy if you use it daily. So I have gloves to avoid that getting into my eyes and so on. I will not keep it like that. I will keep it some bit away from my eyes and my breathing also. To help me with this, it's not maybe the best solution. The very best would be to be in the fume hood, but so you can see it properly, I do it here, and I have a kind of fume hood above me. The most important information in the instruction is that when you mix this, you should do it for 2 minutes. If you do it for 1 minute, it might look very good, but it won't cure properly. So you need those 2 minutes. If you try to speed it up by moving faster, stirring faster like this, you will whip in a lot of air, which is not good for the mount. So slowly stirring for 2 minutes. So after mixing for 2 minutes, stirring carefully, it's time to pour the mixture into the mold. And I will do it like this. A fine beam hitting the same spot. And the best is if I can fill up the mold so it's 5 millimeters left of it up to the rim. And I leave both the sample, the mold, and the cup with the residuals to cure in the fume hood. And in this case, with epoxy Epofix, it will take 12 hours. So tomorrow I will come back and I will take the sample out of the mold and I will throw away the residuals here. I will not do it before it is cured. And now I will show you how to take the sample out of the mold. First of all, remove the bottom of the cup. Sometimes the epoxy has leaked out a little bit here and it might be a little bit tricky to remove. But usually it works. And also, if you see here, you can see a dark area here. Hope you can see it in the camera. And a little bit light area there. Where it's dark, there is no air in between the mold and the sample. And that means that it's very, very difficult to take it out of the mold. So you need to get more air in. And to get more air in, you grip the ears of the mold like that, and you twist it. And now you can see the amount of air increase. So just keep working with the sample. Sometimes it is more tough. Here I still have a little bit of section where no air got in. Still a little bit left there. So what I can do then, besides doing this movement here, I can take my finger underneath there and pull a little bit. And then, after a while, it's possible to push it out like that. So, a little bit of hard work getting air in between the mold and the sample, but then finally it's easy to just push it out. And then it looks like this.